What's up, guys? Just got out of the shower, which is why my hair is a little bit wet and I'm a little bit broken out. I got back from the gym, ran around, and started sweating, so my acne is fresh and ripe, so you can see it in crystal clear 1080p, especially with this lighting. I got this these crazy super bright fluorescent lights, and they really show all my imperfections in 1080p. So anyway, let's get into it. So first thing we're going to talk about is the Elder Scrolls Online reveal. A lot of you guys want to know my opinion on that, so here we go. First impressions of the Elder Scrolls Online. A lot of you guys know that I have not been looking forward to this game. I don't think it's going to be the game for me for multiple reasons. One big one is that you can kind of see how the gameplay and how the game is going to be based on the facts that we already know. One huge fact is that they are developing this game for the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. That means that the combat can't be too complex because it's going to have to work for people laying on their couch with the controller. So that means your actions are very limited. Now, I'm not against limited action bars. Like for Wildstar, you can have access to 12 abilities. I'm not against that because WoW has way too many keybinds. I have like 55 or 60 keybinds on my warrior, and a warrior is not. This is in WoW. 55 to 60 keybinds on my warrior, and a warrior is not even a class that has a lot of keybinds. If you're a DK or a hunter or a warlock, you have a fuckload of keybinds, and you have to manage a pet, and it's a nightmare. Too many keybinds. So I'm glad that MMOs are sort of condensing it down, but I don't want to condense it down too much because I want the skill gap to still be high. With a controller, holy shit, dude. Where's my PlayStation controller? Ah, fuck it. This is an Xbox controller. There's movement, there's aiming, and then you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You got 8 disposable buttons, and I guess A is going to be jump, and B might, well, I guess the triggers might be block and dodge. So you really don't have that many. Buttons for attacks. So if you're developing for a controller, you're really limited, and the combat looks really simple. It looks really, really simple, and that can get old really fast. Another thing that has me concerned about the Elder Scrolls Online is that they're focusing on aspects of the game that will get old really, really fast. Making a game that's all about the lore and opening up journals and exploring the world and all these secret underground caves, like, oh, go into the distance and find this cave and explore it. Thing is, you're gonna do all that shit in like a month to a month and a half, and then you're just gonna be sitting there and ass going, wow, this combat is really fucking boring. Whereas with Wildstar, I feel like they've really nailed the combat. And the combat is something you can't, like, you got the pillar. The combat is the fucking pillar, because you're always doing combat. And when they showed the combat in Elder Scrolls Online today, in the gameplay reveal, it looked horrid. Like, horrible. The animations, like there was a guy at the bow going, dunk, dunk, dunk. And it just looked spammy and retarded, and it just didn't look good. Now, I wasn't expecting it to be awesome, but I was on the Elder Scrolls Online Reddit, and people were furious. They're like, this looks horrible. And this goes back to another thing I said months and months ago when I first heard about this game. The thing is that people are going to go into the Elder Scrolls Online expecting a single-player quality experience with single-player quality animations and single-player quality story with single-player quality graphics, and it just doesn't work because you've got so many dynamics for an MMO. You can't have all these crazy animations because it's going to cause latency and it's going to cause lag. You have to have your... There's a reason why animations are so limited in MMOs is because they're optimized and they know that they're predictable for players to see. And another thing is that they're developing this huge game that can't spend a ton of time on animations and stuff. So people are going to go into this game expecting a single player quality experience. It's just not going to be there. It's an MMO. You can't. It's not scalable. You can't scale a single player game like that. So I've got so many concerns with the Elder Scrolls Online. I really hope I'm wrong. What else here? Fucking train. I knew it. Jesus. I'll try again in a second. Alright, I think the train's gone. So another thing that has me worried about the Elder Scrolls Online is, especially with the way the combat is the PvP. I imagine being an archer in PvP, having to aim with your little reticle. and like lining, you have to like lead your shots because the arrow doesn't go instantly, and then there's people dodge rolling out of the way, and there's the latency on top of that. Think about just Call of Duty or Battlefield when someone's lagging and you're like, I fucking shot that guy. I know I shot that guy. Imagine that in the Elder Scrolls Online with 40 other people around. You got people from Australia playing. The matchmaking isn't local. It's an MMO, so you're gonna have people from Australia, from Europe, you know, all these places playing with this mega server technology where everybody's on the same server. It's just gonna be a clusterfuck. That coupled along with how spammy the combat looks, it just looks to be a nightmare PvP wise. There's no open world PvP. You can't randomly run into an enemy in the world. Never gonna happen. Each faction, at least this is from what I understand, each faction has its own separate areas. The only place you can run into people is the Cyrodiil place, the only world PvP place. That's the only time it'll happen. Yeah, and then this is another thing that's got me kind of worried about the game, and it's the graphics style. So with the Elder Scrolls Online, they went for a more realistic looking game. And the problem with that is, god damn it, Jesus, the problem with that is that style gets dated very, very easily. Me just looking at, I was in Raid Call talking to some of my friends, we're like, this game just like, I feel like if you go too far with that realistic look, it just looks shitty. Like, just go all one way. Either go all cartoony or don't. Like, don't try to like go super realistic, because I don't know. It's just one of those games that just doesn't look like it will date very well. And honestly, it doesn't look that good to me. I really like the look of games like WoW. I really like the look of Wildstar. Guild Wars 2 has a, god damn it, Guild Wars 2 has a more realistic look, but I don't feel like it's a realistic look that will get dated. I feel like this Elder Scrolls Online game will get really dated with the graphic style they took. The colors are dark and depressing. I understand that's how Elder Scrolls games are, but it just doesn't look like, think about all the games that date really well. Think about the games that you can look back at and go, that doesn't look that bad. You've got games like Sonic, the old Sonic games, the old Mario games. All these games in general are pretty colorful and somewhat cartoony. That's why they still look decent. When you've got these dark games, like look at the Resident Evil games that are really dark. They don't date very well because it's just, if you get what I mean. So anyway, enough of me shitting on the TESO. I hope it's good. I hope they blow me out of the water. I want good MMOs to play. I love MMOs. But I do have a lot of concerns with the Elder Scrolls Online. Next up is Everquest Next. Is that the real title for the game? Is it really going to be called Everquest Next? Or is that just a code name? They're going to give it like a real name. That's kind of weird. So anyway, I didn't actually know about this until today. And this is being developed by Sony Online Entertainment. There's a trailer. I'm going to put a link to the trailer. It doesn't really show much. It shows like some of the PvE shit in some of the zones. The graphics art style looks pretty good in my opinion. It's more cartoony, but it looks good. It really does look good. The lion race looks pretty cool. There's like sliding and destructible environments, and now I'm all for destructible environments and sandbox elements, but one thing that really has me worried about this game is that like one of their big selling features is develop the game with the developers. Like, so what you do in the world decides what's going to get developed, and you make the content. And they're really trying to hit on the sandbox style of games. And I'm so sick of that. I'm so sick of developers trying to cash in on this sandbox style of game just because Minecraft had so much success with it. And I know people are freaking out in the comments going, you hate sandbox games. No, I don't hate sandbox games at all. I don't hate sandbox stuff for the most part. But so many of these games are trying to get the player to do the work for them, and it just turns into like cheesy, boring content. The companies need to make good, compelling content, good, compelling dungeons, raids, PvP, things like that, and then also have sandbox elements included into them. I really like what Wildstar's doing, and it's very smart. So they've got the theme park aspect. They've got the raids, they've got the PvP. Another big thing is PvP is the biggest sandbox you can ever create. A good combat system will... This is why I'm excited for Wildstar. People are always like, why are you so excited for that? It's because the combat is good. They get the fucking main pillar of the game, I think, is awesome. So when you've got really good, tight PvP with some complexity to it, that is the sandbox. That's the biggest sandbox. You got people theory crafting for years and years and years and years and years. How long have we played the same fucking like 6 arena maps? Thousands of times. For years. How long have we played the same battlegrounds? For years. PvP, biggest sandbox ever. Along with that, they've got the housing where everything's rescalable. That's a sandbox element. And people will get a lot of use out of that. Character customization. These are sandbox style elements that everyone likes. Everyone likes character customization. Not everybody likes to run around in Guild Wars 2 and be like, I'm doing a dynamic event that's completely worthless. Ha ha ha. No one, none, maybe some people like that, but that is bullshit. For at least 90% of my audience was like, this is, I'm going to go with more than 99% of my audience was like, after they did the dynamic events, never did them again. If it didn't have anything to do with like their character progression, they just didn't do them. It's pointless. Again, I don't dislike sandbox elements. I just think that companies need to actually make compelling content. Like Neverwinter. Like, it's cool that people can make dungeons, but just because other people make dungeons doesn't mean you shouldn't either. I don't know. So anyway, what else? I got some notes here. The graphics look good. I like that. I wonder what they're gonna do. Is this game gonna be hardcore? Now, a lot of people say, you know, there will never be a hardcore MMO like EverQuest was back in the day. And they may be right, but I think they could be wrong. I'm not saying they are, but there's a niche for it. There's a niche market. Right now, all MMOs are sort of casual when you compare them to EverQuest. I personally never played EverQuest. I was too young. I started playing WoW when I was 12 years old, so EverQuest was way before my time. But there is definitely a market for hardcore gamers, and especially in the hardcore MMO market. But is that really too hardcore? Like, personally, de-leveling, that's too hardcore for me. I like hard raids, I like PvP that has a high skill cap. But de-leveling and just like these brutal, tedious things that are just unnecessary, well, not unnecessarily, but they're too brutal for me. I personally don't like them, but there's people that play like Path of Exile on hardcore that really enjoy that stuff. That really enjoy the game just shitting on them. So there's a market for it, and it's not a very saturated market. There is 0 games like EverQuest 2 and 1 were. So maybe they will just make a really brutal game that it just punishes you. They'd be the only one. There's no saturation. There's nothing else. Maybe. Let's see what else here. I got my notes here so I don't forget anything. It's kind of a long video. I think I hit everything. They said that these are some of the features of the game of EverQuest Next: destructible environments, procedurally generated quests. So like if you, I guess, save the village of people, your quest will be different, or if you kill a monster a certain way, you'll get different quests. Again, I'm of the belief that questing is cool, but for an MMO it doesn't really matter that much. The thing with quests is that a lot of people just rush through them to get to the end game content, and the people that don't even do that, it doesn't have that much replayability because you're going to get the same quests. And I really appreciate these MMOs trying to get like a really good single player experience, and I hope they eventually pull it off. And I hope leveling in an MMO is just as good as a single player game. That would be incredible, but I don't think it's ever going to happen just because as MMO quality rises, like MMO single player experience is like down here and single player games are up here. Like as they're both going to rise at the same time, it's not like MMOs are just going to be like... Anyway, where I'm going with this, like, look at Star Wars. SWTOR had sick questing. It did. It had sick fucking questing. There were so many quests in that game. People didn't realize how much questing there was in that game. If you made different choices, you really did go completely off another path. The Empire side there was like no shared quests, which was maybe a bad thing because it didn't have much world PvP. But they put a lot of effort in the questing, all voice acted. really, really good stuff. And I thought it was cool. I appreciate it. I really did appreciate it. But I didn't really give a fuck. At the end of the day, I wasn't like, man, I'm gonna stick around for SWTOR for the questing. Just not gonna happen, man. That's another. I feel like I know I'm like really fucking fanboying out over Wildstar, but again, that's another area where I'm giving them a thumbs up. They're not really worrying about the questing. The quests themselves look somewhat fun. They have some fun mechanics, but they're not wasting time on quest text or voice acting for the quests. You know, you run in and you got a quest to kill soldiers, and there's like this crazy way you can kill soldiers where you call in an airstrike and just blow them up or whatever. You're killing them in crazy ways. But it's more about the gameplay and not about the story and the voice acting and just all this bullshit. So, yes, where I think I'm actually done now. Anyway, that's just a rambling video. Sorry for no videos recently on my YouTube channel, guys. I've been streaming a lot, and I've been a little bit unmotivated. Not really unmotivated. Yeah, sort of unmotivated. Just waiting around for games to come out really sucks. I'm working on my Heavy Rain Let's Play. I'm not even close to being done with it. I'm editing it like a movie, so yeah, it's taking a while. But yeah, I'm gonna try to get some more videos out for you guys. I've just been lazy, I guess. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Hello, again. Despite my personal feelings on the matter, it seems I will be forced to tell you about